All right, is everyone back? Okay. All right. So thank you. Sorry, we have to go through that. Okay, because I don't have what we call it, the upgraded Zoom account. But never mind. Okay, let's go back. So where were we? Okay, so we were talking about globalization. Okay, so like I mentioned, globalization and internet is two distinct. They're different. Okay, but they support each other. Okay, they work in parallel. Okay, because of the development of technology. Okay, technology here in terms of not just communication, but also in terms of travel infrastructure. Okay, this has facilitated the exchange of the migration of people and the exchange of ideas. Okay, so globalization also has its own evolution. Okay, so historians have suggested that the first era of globalization, which they call globalization 1.0, lasted from the 1400s to the 1800s. Okay, when the development of early transportation technology allowed land and sea travel. Is it sea? Yes. Okay. So this, allowed people to find new places and new peoples. Okay, and of course, this led to colonization. In the 1400s and 1800s, right, not just Western colonization, okay, even the Muslims empire, Islamic empires were colonizing other places. Okay, by the 1400s, okay, we had so many other empires like the Turkish, the Usmania, the Seljuks, okay, and then there are the Timurids. There are so many Muslim empires that also engage in exploration and even colonization. Okay, so what is the implication of this? Okay, is that the planet, the world that we live in, shrank instead of becoming so large. Okay, because you imagine someone who's living in the 1300s. Okay, they don't see life beyond their own area. Okay, so the world becomes so big to these people. But when they are now able to travel, then the world becomes smaller. Okay. So when the big world become reachable, okay, intellectual and military progress hastened land colonization and subsequent formation of nation states. Okay, what happened is that people started to travel, started to control other people, and this led to the creation of nation states. Initially, there was only one world. All right, and then this world was separated according to the what we call it, the imperials. Okay, which superpower that controlled them. Okay, but this distribution was not formal like they are now. Okay, now it is very formal. Okay, Malaysia, this area only, up to this area you can call it Malaysia. All right. Okay, so this is what, okay, the impact of the first era. Okay, the creation of nation states. Okay. And then from the 1800s to the 2000, okay, the world experienced globalization 2.0. The differences is, okay, in the first globalization is about colonialism, okay, trying to control land, okay, trying to control people, creating power over nation states, okay. But when it comes to 1800s and 2000, the driver for globalization is industrialization. This we have discussed previously. All right, because the superpowers, okay, they've already dominated most of the countries and now the countries are free. So what next? How to maintain the status quo? Okay, by being the advantage in terms of industries and technologies. Okay, so there was a forced global integration, okay, even before the internet. Okay, the US and the European countries, okay, they were experiencing rapid industrialization. So, but they did not have enough resources. Okay, they did not have enough workers to work on their factories. And what did they do? They imported people. Okay, in the UK, they forced a lot of the Indians or the Pakistanis to come to work in the factories. So now you have a lot of Asians living in Europe, okay, or a lot of Indians and Middle Easterns living in the US. So this is what? Making the world smaller. All right? Globalization. All right? So the goal is a bit different in terms of that the first globalization, the focus was more on political power. The second is more on economic power. All right? But both intend to dominate. All right? So global integration was fueled by falling transportation costs, okay, thanks to the steam engine and the railroad, and later on, of course, okay, the air travel, okay. And now, okay, we have the diffusion of telephone, telegraph, PC, satellites, okay, fiber optic, and all of these technologies, all right, allowing us to become more connected, okay. And the third era is globalization 3.0. Now we are experiencing it, okay, driven by new digital technologies, okay, allowing individuals and groups to go worldwide so effortlessly and seamlessly, okay. It is no longer horsepower or hardware that allows individuals or groups to go worldwide so easily, okay, but software, all sorts of new applications in conjunction with the formation of a global fiber optic network. So what does this mean? Okay, I hope you can see the changes, right? The evolution. Okay, globalization 1.0, okay, is the governments or the superpowers. Okay, they try to have political control. Okay, they go travel through lands and seas, okay, to dominate other lands, to dominate other people. Okay, but as we enter globalization 2.0, okay, the focus is no longer on land or physical. The focus is to dominate what? Okay, economy. All right, to dominate the market. Okay, and then of course you have internet, you have the air travel, sea travel, allowing people to travel much faster. Okay, that people, okay, it's no longer forced migration. Okay, in the 1400s, there was forced migration. Okay, where the Americans are taking all of the slaves from Africa. That it was part of globalization, but they were forced. Okay, but in terms of globalization 2.0, it was semi-forced. Okay, they forced some of the Indians or the Pakistanis to work in their factories. But after that, when these people, okay, they find that they can have a good life, okay, they come voluntarily. And many Asians, for example, choose to live, okay, in the Western world. But when we talk about globalization 3.0, we're not really talking about specific powers. We're not talking about governments or multinational corporations. We're really talking about what? Individuals. Every one of us, okay, can be, what we call it, can get connected, okay, and have the ability, okay, to travel and to do whatever we want. Can you follow what I'm saying? All right, globalization, individuals can create a Pinterest account or a Tumblr account and make money from that, okay, without having to go, you know, through the hustle of having a company or having to travel. Okay, so this is what we mean now that the world is now in its third phase of globalization. Okay, can follow everyone? All right. So now we've talked about the internet and then we've talked about the globalization. So how does this affect the Muslim world? All right. So in the first class, we've already talked about what is the Muslim world. All right. It's a very diverse, okay, geographically diverse, culturally diverse. Okay, we are mostly just united by our faith. All right, but even in terms of our religious practices, we are still quite different. All right. So the internet or new technologies, okay, how did it affect the Muslim world? Again, because of our differences, the effect and the impact is also different. All right. Okay, because right now we're talking about contemporary development. Okay, before contemporary times, okay, before the time of technology, okay, even our political and our societal origins or practices is very different. Okay, like in the Middle East, when we talk about media system, they used to be very close and dictatorial. Okay, and we have what they call as the MENA region, MENA, M-E-N-A here. All right, Middle East and North Africa. So they consist of all of those Gulf countries. Okay, Saudi, Yemen, Syria, okay, and what else? Oman, UAE, okay, those are Middle East countries. And then you have North Africa, Morocco, Algeria, Egypt, okay. Geographically, historically also, they were always bound up together, okay, and they were termed as the MENA states, okay, because they have similar historical background and similar political system. Okay, so for this part of the Muslim world, okay, in the early years, okay, their internet penetration was very low. Okay, in the 1990s, we don't talk about Dubai or Qatar. All right, okay, so you can see that actually globalization and internet also accelerated the development of some Middle East countries like Dubai. Okay, so by the 1990s, they didn't have much internet, okay, because they didn't have the digital infrastructure, okay, they don't have the connectivity, okay, and most people are still illiterate, okay, and they don't speak English, okay, and this is quite recent, a recent history, okay, up to the 1990s. And most of these Arab states remain complacent during Web 1.0 phase. Okay, you remember we talked about Web 1.0, okay, it was still during just a synthetic web. So they saw it like another television or another radio, just another medium. So they dismissed the influence of new technologies, okay. Said also we must understand the situation there, they were always at war, okay. But what actually changed, okay, in the Middle East is not, okay, how governments or how the leaders thought, okay, they did not have this, what we call it, ambitions, okay, to create a digital or a technologically advanced state. But what happened was that most of these states were pressured by the people. Okay, because unlike television, the internet access, okay, even unlike satellite, internet access that can slowly be what we call it, people who have the advantage, okay, the technological knowledge, they know how to access the internet even in the most closed places. All right, so slowly, okay, a lot of the Arabs, you know, they started to use the internet. They started to acknowledge there are a lot of things that could be done online. So even those Arabs, what we call it, who not immigrants, all right, Arabs, diasporic Arabs, that means they live in the West, for example, okay, they know the importance of the internet. So they started to use it. And then the Arab states and their countries realized they cannot deny the importance of this technology. So they started to adopt. And consequently, by the 2000, with the rise of Web 2.0 and Web 3.0, the vast majority of Arab states had embraced ICT, information and communication technology, and the globalization process that it entailed. Can you see? Okay, that the history of new technologies in the Arab world is very new. Okay, it started in the 2000s. Okay, and that if you see states like Dubai or Qatar and how modern they are now, these are recent, very recent development. Okay, and states like Dubai and Qatar, how did they become so open, okay, and so modern and developed in such a short time? It is due to globalization. Okay, so who developed Dubai and their systems? It's not the Arab people, it's the imported Westerners that come there and bring with them the technology, okay, brings with them the values and the culture. Okay, so if you go to Dubai, okay, the only thing that is Arab is probably their clothing and some of them who still speaks Arabic. But what happens to culture and values when you go to Dubai? What do? You want to go shop there. Okay, you want to stay at the most expensive hotels. So all of this, what? These are all global cultures. Okay. So today, even Saudi Arabia, okay, has among the world's best internet technology. Okay, but again, in the Middle East, the country and North Africa, the countries are somewhat diverse also. For the less economically advantaged, okay, their technology is still quite behind. Okay, but for countries that are, you know, oil-rich countries are the Gulf countries. Okay, the pure Arab countries. Okay, if you want to compare, you can compare the Gulf countries and the North African countries. So the Gulf countries are more affluent. Okay, so they have better technology. Okay, like in Malaysia for now, we're only starting our 5G, 5th-generation internet, only starting. Okay, but in Qatar, in Dubai, and in Saudi, okay, they are almost at completion state. Okay, so can you imagine the change that will come, that will, you know, further affect the Arab world with this very very fast, instantaneous internet and globalization. So that is why you can see the changes, all right? Because we're talking about not just the change in physical technology, okay, and what does the impact on cultures, values, and societies. Okay, you can see, for example, how Mecca is so rapidly changing. Okay, you can see how Mecca is globalized, all right? I haven't been there in many years. Maybe some of you have, right? But I have heard of stories of how you can get Starbucks, right? Just after you come out of the Masjidil Haram, you can, you know, it's walking distance to Starbucks, or you can still shop at H&M. Okay, so these are all the implications of globalization, right? So you have one part of the Muslim world, you know, the Middle East and North Africa. Okay, what about Central Asia? Probably the least talked about, okay, Muslim societies. Okay, so where is this Central Asia? Okay, they are in the middle, okay, consisting of a lot of the Stan states, Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan, also Azerbaijan. Okay, we hardly talk about these states, okay, because they used to have communist history. Okay, we don't call them Islamic countries, we call them communist countries. But they are part of the Muslim world because these countries have Muslim majority population. All right. But unlike the Middle Eastern or our part of the world, okay, these post-communist countries are quite disadvantaged. Okay, why are they disadvantaged? Okay, because economically they are unable to implement the technologies. Why again? All right, because most of the other Muslim countries, okay, even in the Arab world, we have had our independence, all right, 1960s, 1950s. But most of the Central Asian states, okay, they were communist states until the 1990s. That means they only got their independence in the 90s. Okay, so relatively they had a shorter time to develop compared to us. Okay, and mostly, of course, all right, because they've been living under communist control for so long, even after they have gotten their independence, okay, they still adopt the communist ideology. So politically, okay, they were unwilling to open their borders to foreign ideas and values linked with the internet and globalization. Okay. And there's another challenge for the Central Asian states. Okay, it is the physical circumstances. What physical circumstance? These countries are called what we call landlocked countries. Okay, what are landlocked countries? You know, like in the Middle East, okay, the Gulf states, they are near the sea, okay? And then, but when we talk about landlocked, okay, if you look at the map, most of these countries, they are in the middle of Asia, okay, where the land are mountainous and they don't get direct access to the sea. You get what I'm saying? It's just land, vast lands, okay, mountainous, okay? And some of the areas are so cold, okay? It becomes very hard to put the internet, what we call it, infrastructures. Do you know where your internet cables are placed? Okay, because we only use Wi-Fi, right? We don't see the internet. We think everything is just in the air. But actually, there are still cables. Okay, the wires are not at our houses, but the wires are down there. Okay, bawah tanah or in the sea. And most of the fiber optic, okay, are placed under the sea. That's why, okay, internet centers in the world, for example, in Hong Kong, okay, because why? Because they are islands. Okay, but for these landlocked countries, how to get the cable? They don't even have a sea. Okay, so it's a challenge for them. It's not just in terms of culture, but also in terms of physical. Okay, so what happens to these countries? All right, it's harder on them, okay, to develop, okay, and to follow. But because of the demand, okay, no countries can say that they do not want the internet. Okay, even North Korea has internet access. Okay, so these countries try to adapt. Some of these countries have better economic position. All right, why do they have better economic position? Because countries like Kazakhstan and Azerbaijan, they are more liberal and open. Some countries like Turkmenistan, you know, sometimes they rate Turkmenistan at the same par with North Korea, just the same, because they're very, very closed. Okay. So those with better liberal social-political policies have better internet structures. Okay, so Kazakhstan and Azerbaijan, okay, even Uzbekistan, okay, they are basically, you know, together, like they're not really left behind. Okay, and what they do is that most of these countries here, they work together, okay, and they collaborate. Why do they collaborate? Like, for example, in terms of getting access, okay, they need to depend on their neighbors too to get the internet connection because they don't have direct cable. Okay, so even in countries in Central Asia, post-communist Muslim societies, internet and globalization has reached them. Okay. And when we talk about internet and globalization in the Muslim world, I'm very happy to talk about Malaysia. All right. Why do we talk about Malaysia? Because Malaysia can be considered the pioneer, all right, among the Muslim states, and probably the first Muslim state to have a long-term strategy when it comes to internet and digital development. All right. When I talk about the history of Central Asia or even in South Asia like Pakistan, okay, or Bangladesh, and then Central Asia, you can see that the internet development is still a recent. All right, it's not until the 2000s that they started to talk about internet. But in Malaysia, okay, Alhamdulillah, we had a visionary leader at the time, okay, Dr. Mahathir Mohamad. Okay, what he did was, okay, he had a vision that he wanted to make Malaysia a knowledge-based society by 2020. That's what we call as Wawasan 2020. Okay, your generation might not experience it, but my generation, every day we are being bombarded with the idea of Wawasan 2020. Of course, the vision was more ideal than what we have now. Okay, we were thinking about flying cars. But what happened was, okay, in the early 90s, that everyday Malaysian already had a vision. They already know about internet, they know about the technology, and they can see that the future is going to be technologically based. Can you follow? All right. So in 1996, Dr. Mahathir launched a long-term strategy for 30 years, this strategy. Okay. So what he did was created the Multimedia Super Corridor. Where is this Multimedia Super Corridor? Okay, it's an area somewhere around Cyberjaya and near to Putrajaya. You've been there, right? Okay, it is supposed to be like, what is that place in the US where they have all the technologies? What is it in the US? I forgot. What do you call it? That place where Google has its
Is it called
office?
Silicon Valley?
Yes, the Silicon Valley. Okay. So Malaysia had this vision of creating its own Silicon Valley called Multimedia Super Corridor. So what the government did at that time, they created in 1996 a very connected, okay, they already have internet access in this particular area. Okay, and what they wanted was they wanted all of these technology companies, okay, to come and invest in Multimedia Super Corridor and also build their offices there. Okay, so they also what we call it, organized, okay, or formed Multimedia Development Corporation, MDEC, okay, to foresee all of this development. So Malaysia was so bold in its attempt that in 1996, Malaysian government signed the Bill of Guarantees. What is this Bill of Guarantees? So this bill says, okay, that Malaysia will not censor the internet in Malaysia. Can you imagine that? Okay, it's a country, Malaysia, you also have a very strict media system, very closed. But the government signed this and said that we will not censor the internet. Why do you think the government did that? Okay, so bold in doing that. Okay, namely, okay, they tried to show, okay, they wanted to attract the investors, okay, to show how Malaysia is very serious when it comes to their this transformation. Okay, a lot of Western investors, okay, and big corporations, they are not ready to invest in Muslim states or in third world countries because of our very close social political systems. Okay, so Malaysia wanted to offer this, okay, to the investors. So, but of course, then Malaysia learned the hard way. When you don't control the internet, a lot of things happened. Okay, there was political uprising. Dr. Mahathir had to leave office. So many things happened. Okay, between 1996 to what we have now. That's why in 2014, Malaysia's government began to regulate the internet again. Right? So Malaysia is a unique case study at the start. They had a good start, a good plan, which is very visionary. Okay, in 1996, Malaysia had better technology, had better infrastructure, even compared to South Korea. All right, but unfortunately, running up to that, a lot of things happened, and in Malaysia, it's always politics. Okay, the development was not as successful as we would have hoped for, but of course, okay, it was bottom line successful. All right, that we still have Multimedia Super Corridor, we still have a very good technology and investors in our country. All right, but unfortunately, like I said, right, running up to now, okay, from this 1996, a lot of things had happened in Malaysia, and we had slowed down in terms of our development. Okay, in certain aspects, we have even we lose out to the Arab countries like Qatar that suddenly have better 5G, better internet than us. Okay, so this is just a case study, all right? But I would like to share, that, the pioneer of internet and multimedia super corridor in Malaysia is, of course, Dr. Mahathir as our Prime Minister at that time. But it's actually, there's one, not really call it scholar, okay, one important personality, which is Dr. Tengku Sharifuddin. So who is this Dr. Tengku Sharifuddin? I just would like to share with you guys. It's actually Dr. Tengku Aisyah's father. All right. So he was the one, okay, if you read the history of internet in Malaysia, you will find his name because he was the one who proposed this to Dr. Mahathir. All right. That means in the early 90s, you have someone who, prepared the country that says, in 20 years, in 30 years, things will be different, that we need to prepare for that. Right. So I think that's wonderful that we have that, in our country. Okay. All right. I think this meeting will end in 10 minutes. Okay. I think we still have time to cover our topic next week. All right, so you also can take some more time to finish your assignment. Okay, but before we leave today, I have a request. Can all of you please switch on your camera because I want to take our photo. Okay, how come I cannot open? Hold on, yeah.
Sorry, madam, I can open my camera. It's broken.
Your camera is broken?
Yeah.
Oh no. Okay, never mind. Who can switch on your camera? Their camera, please do. Can? Come on, switch on your camera. Finally get to see some of your faces. Okay, good, 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 good. All right, we're taking photos, but this is not the last class, huh? Usually that is the trend, right? Only last class, only I see your face to take photo. Right, this is not last class, huh? Still got 2 weeks. Okay. All right. Okay, it's okay. Oh, Amira, you are here. That's nice. Never mind. Okay, if some of you cannot switch on camera, it's okay. Okay, we can feel your spirit. But those who actually can, please switch on your camera. All right. I want to take your photo because I need to record this for some purpose. Okay, everybody smile. Ready? Okay, Hanif. Good, nice smile you have. Everyone else? Okay. In 3, all right? Okay, look at the camera. 1, 2, 3. All right. Okay. So far, all right? Okay. I'll take one more. Just one more, just in case. Okay. One more time. In 3, yeah. 1, 2, 3. Okay. So I will share the photo with you later on if you want it. All right. Okay. Any questions before we leave?
Doctor, I have 2 questions. One relating to the study earlier, and also one more about the assignments. Okay.
All right.
Okay. Can we say that globalization makes a certain country less authentic because of tradition laws, custom laws, things like that? Can we say that as well?
Yes, we can
That's my
see
first
that
question.
as one of the negative impact of globalization. Okay, because globalization, of course, have its positive impact as well. Because globalization makes us, you know, from a very unique societies, we all become just the same. And as we have learned previously, unfortunately, when we become the same, we adopt the same culture that is not ours. We adopt the dominant culture. So we lose out. When it's not our culture, actually, we will always lose out. We will always be the dominated group. So yes, that's one of the issue with globalization.
Okay, Doctor, for the assignment, is it just representatives will be submitting, or is it everyone in the group has to turn in?
No, only one person submit per group. Okay, and then also don't forget to share the link to your YouTube video. Okay, when you submit in the comment box in the classroom, when you submit your written assignment. All right. Okay, thank you, Charmaine. Anything else? Everybody okay? All right, okay. So all the best, everyone. We only have 2-3 weeks left. You can do it. We will survive this semester, inshallah. You know, it's been how many semesters already online, okay? And the promise is next semester will be physical. So inshallah, all right? Okay. I know some of you want it, some of you don't, like myself, I'm 50-50 also, all right? But it would be great to come back to campus, okay? To see everyone, okay? So, all right, we end the class today with tasbih, kafarah, and one ask. Okay, thank you. Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam, madam.
Thank you, doctor.
Thank you, doctor.
Thank you, doctor.